Hey, you're listening to Tech Talks with Lou, and I'm Lou Temlett. I hope you're having a good day, and I'm really thankful for you listening. So, this is Tech Talks with Lou, the show in which I discuss the top tech secrets for success from the best in today's digital world. Last time, I spoke with Gemma Casey, NatWest Ecosystem Manager for Wales and host of Inspiring Women Wales podcast. We spoke about journalism, helping communities to tell their story, as well as her roles to support upcoming entrepreneurs to success. If you haven't already listened, head back after this episode and let me know what you think. My guest today is a natural visionary, has nearly 4 decades in tech, and is a values-led female leader in the industry. I'd like to welcome Joyce Durst to my podcast. Hi, Joyce. How are you?
Hi, Lou. Thank you. I'm great and thrilled to be here. And I actually can't wait to go back and hear the last podcast because I want to hear that one.
It was a very interesting conversation. I love speaking with women in technology and supporting entrepreneurs because, it's so important to support everybody. But sometimes our role as a female, as a mother maybe, has its challenges. So I'd love to hear about your story. I'd love for you to tell me more from the beginning and kind of where things started for you in technology.
Yeah. So when I was growing up, and certainly the area of kind of rural Texas that I grew up in, there was really no expectation in my family that anyone would ever go to college because no one ever had. So it was quite a surprise to my family when I said, hey, not only do I want to go to college, I'll figure out a way to put myself through, and I want to study engineering. And and just you could tell all around that it was like engineering, like girls don't do that. Like that is not that accepted thing. And I'm like, I love math and I love science. That's where I'm headed. So that's what I did. I went off and got an engineering degree in computer engineering. I loved it. I just love the kind of intellectual stimulation. And every day there's a new problem and a new challenge and a lot of innovation. And straight out of school, I was very fortunate and went to work at IBM. So just a great kind of launch pad for my career. And I must say, given my upbringing, I on my first job thought, I have already reached the highest level of success I will ever reach.
That's amazing.
I have a great job and, it wasn't a lot of money. It was an entry-level person, but I was like, look at this. I can pay my bills. And it was awesome. So it was just a great place to kind of start my career.
I love the fact that you felt like you'd achieved even from the very beginning. I think, for anyone in business to have that mindset and that feeling right from the offset, in comparison to now, you're still succeeding, but to actually initiate your career and feel like you'd won. There are a lot of things that resonate for me, equally being one of the first individuals in my family to complete a degree in kind of media and technology. It was very, very special, but no one had done it before. So how do you kind of feel in that environment? Mm-hmm. And equally, feeling like I'd achieved and, taken those steps to get the first job in technology. And it's a wonderful mindset rather than striving and going, well, it's just not good enough. Let's just keep going or give up. I think the resilience piece as well, very early on is a good thing.
And Lou, you just said something that I think is true of all entrepreneurs. So while I thought, wow, this is, it was kind of like a miracle. I got to this amazing kind of promised land and I'm with all these other really bright people and they're solving great problems for their customers. I think all entrepreneurs are definitely plagued by what you said in that, yes, but that's not enough. So I definitely, from the beginning, have had that drive on, this is great. I'm grateful and I'm thankful for everything that I have. But wow, I want to go, now I want to go learn some more. So if I go take that other position, even within the same company, or if I go try something new, then I'll continue to learn and grow about, how companies work and how people work. And I was really driven by that. So in my kind of the formative part of my career, I was consultant, and then I was in sales, and then I was in marketing, and then I was in product management, and then I was in development. And I really, every 2 years, were like, I've never done that over there. Could I go try that over there? That seemed like a new and interesting thing. And I was fortunate that I had managers and executives that I worked for that were like, yeah, you've done a good job. We'll let you go try that. And I credit that kind of intellectual curiosity and maybe hating to ever kind of be bored with really giving me the broad base of experiences that prepared me to be a CEO and an entrepreneur.
I love the fact that you were never bored and you always wanted to do other things, more things, and keep learning. Have you always stayed within the engineering and tech industry?
Certainly, I've always been within the tech industry, but I found ways to try out every single discipline. So even though I was in tech, I'm like, marketing. Let me go try marketing. I don't know anything about that. So to learn all the customer facing parts of the business, as well as the engineering and support and QA and, tech writing, to learn as much as you can about all of those prepares you to be in any industry, because every industry has technology, right? But I've enjoyed being in where the focus of the company really has been technical innovation.
Yes, I'm really excited to kind of hear that. It again resonates for me, working in a big corporate and going, I'll do a secondment in, the business side or the kind of customer and all sorts of different aspects to really deeply understand from a general management perspective, but seeing the value that can bring back in any role in any organization really is incredibly powerful for anyone in business to go and try and just have insights. I remember having, lots of different discussions with people in, finance or marketing or various other departments and going, yeah, I want to learn. Let me sit with you. Let me shadow. Let me see what that's about and really understand. So I feel very excited by your story.
And I can tell that you're an engineer at heart. Maybe that's not the exact degree that you got, but you are definitely an engineer at heart, because we view the world as, well, how does that work? And is there if we know how it works and we know what you really want, maybe there's a way to tweak this part or improve this part so that then it's better for everyone. And clearly those are the eyes. It looks to me like that's how you look at the world.
Absolutely. There's always that level of improvement. How can you make it better, more efficient, more usable, or, easier for people? Because technology can, cause massive stumbling blocks for humans, society, but actually it's very understandable. I see technology as a logical process. So whenever anything kind of suggests that it's a problem, it's a device, it's a piece of technology that has a logic, because you can't necessarily create technology without that logic. So actually the kind of customer viewpoint of it, or the human viewpoint, is that it's just a logical process, and being able to see that it's all quite easy.
Yeah. But that's one of the things we say around our lives, right? That technology is working as designed, and that's good or bad, right? And so if we as technologists and as business people and entrepreneurs really keep the employees in mind and the end users in mind, and really how do we make it a wonderful experience for both customers and employees, that's we're not done until it really does that. So as long as we're keeping the people element front and center, then then technology can be a great tool.
Absolutely. I know you have a thing for maths in your history. I remember as a child, my father's an engineer, and all the maths books, all the functions and the algorithms, kind of in the 80s, I remember opening these massive books and going, I don't understand them right now, but I know I'm going to at some point in my life. But just seeing all these formulas and all these things that look so complicated, but knowing that one day they'd be understandable. So tell me about your maths journey.
I think it's as simple as I had a fairly challenging kind of childhood growing up. I never started and finished a year in the same school until I was in high school and finished a couple of years there. And so there was a lot of turmoil and drama and tragedy kind of in my family growing up. And for me, math is not subjective. Right. So I gravitated towards that because I knew that when you worked on this, that if you solve this equation, a very specific answer would come out the end. And even before the teacher ever graded it, I already knew that I got the right answer because the equation solved. Right. Yeah. And that's not that way if you think about it. In English and other social sciences and liberal arts, like it's much more subjective. And I think for me, I really went towards, hey, where is there a guaranteed foundation that I know is going to be the same every single time? Math.
Yeah. I love it. So that's a really nice way of kind of putting it, that it's not subjective, it's logical, it has an answer. And I think, people can kind of balance either in the science, maths, or the kind of creative field. But when you get somebody that crosses both, and I kind of feel like we both do in that sense, that it brings a balance to life and to business. There are, sometimes there is an answer, but sometimes there isn't an answer. Yes. But knowing you can rely on maths and technology because there is a logical answer. There is an answer.
2 + 2 is 4. No matter how many times you do it, it always is.
Noted. You're listening to Tech Talks with Lou, and I'm Lou Temlett. And today I'm talking with Joyce Durst, CEO and founder of wearegap.com. So Joyce, you're a female founder and a caregiver, and I'd love to know how you balance life in those roles, and a female founder and a caregiver in society, and just keeping everything going.
Yeah, it's for many families and for many women who take on the primary role of caregiver, both for children and for, in many cases, aging parents. It's something we all have to get very comfortable with. And I use this analogy with a lot of entrepreneurs that I mentor on, we all have this mental picture of all these spinning plates, right? We got all these plates spinning and we're running around and we're hitting them and trying to keep them spinning. And I said, success is not keeping all of the plates spinning. Success is keeping the right plates spinning. Wow. And it's hard, but you have to get comfortable with some of these plates are going to come crashing to the ground. Okay. It's okay. It's all right. As long as I keep the right ones spinning, as long as you're taking care, of the primary responsibility, like make sure your kids are fed and okay and safe and they get to school and they get home. And if you're like I was a primary caregiver for my mother for about 9 years. My mother had 2 double lung transplants, and then over that period and went through rejection with those over a number of years. So as long as I knew that my mom was happy and she lived with me and was, enjoying life, and she worked with me in the company for a long time as well. And that was all like all those basic needs were really taken care of. And hey, the company is growing and the people feel valued and their voices heard and they're inspired, and the customers think that we're providing just exceptional service. If we're doing those things, the fact that I may work 12 hours on one day and 4 hours on another day, it's fine. Like, yes. You got to give yourself grace. Just, have a little just compassion for yourself and say, well, it's really stressful today. I need to leave at 3:00 and I'm going to go see a movie, or I'm going to go for a run, or whatever that is, that it just helps you kind of find calmness and peace kind of back within yourself, and just be okay. And that's the way we treat all of our employees here at Gap, is to say, we recognize you all have lives and families, and, sometimes things don't go well. Someone gets sick, or, someone, or someone's in a school play. You need to go be part of that. At the same time, hey, if you got to make up for that by, you guys, is a really key customer project and they're expecting we're going to deliver, well, let's find a way to do that. Yeah. So I think we've expected that we could do everything, 100% of everything. And I think we got to be okay with doing the right things.
Yes, I absolutely love that analogy. I've got this visual of all the plates spinning, but it's just making sure the right one is spinning. That's incredibly powerful to go, the others are okay. Just the primary, the most important thing has got to be dealt with and kept going.
Lou, I'm sure because you're a working mom, I'm sure you can relate to this. And I certainly, as a caregiver, there was a couple of years in there that were particularly stressful as my mother's health was failing and the company was growing with crazy things. There was one bathroom in my house that toilet had been broken for, I bet, 2 years. And it's like, I just can't get a plumber out here. Like that plate is not going to happen. We have other bathrooms, use the other ones. I'm just going to just ignore that, or clothes don't get picked up from the dry cleaners or whatever it is. You're like, you know what? No one died. It's going to be okay. And again, we just got to be okay with, so the flowers didn't make it. I forgot to water them. Okay.
That reminds me, I've just spotted a palm that needs some extra water. Thankfully, those are the ones that can kind of sit for a long period of time without any water. You talk about, supporting people in your organization. Does that kind of mean that they bring their whole self to the workplace? From a, kind of, it's one of the things that came up when you were speaking, because many organizations kind of go, well, leave your personal life outside and just come to work and just work and then go home again. And I kind of feel like, society shifted to bring your whole self to the place. And I kind of feel like your organization does exactly that.
Yes, thank you. Yeah, as you know, we lead with values first. And the values which spell out GAP are easy to remember. The G stands for greatness. We should strive for greatness in everything we do. The A is for being agile, which means, hey, sometimes we got to change direction. We got to work together. We got to figure it out. And the P, which is the most important one, is investing in people. And I think if you are truly investing in people, you have to create space for them to bring their whole self to work. And you have to make sure their voices are heard. And you got to recognize when parents are having to homeschool kids, during a pandemic, and that's going to change the way and the hours that they can work. So I don't want an environment unless people are bringing their whole self to work. That's where you get the greatest ideas. That's where you get the greatest teamwork and the highest levels of trust. And for us, we are a people business. We are a digital transformation technology company. All I have is people. And whatever their best self is, that's the one I want to, to be able to interact with every day.
I love it. That makes me feel really nice to hear that, an organization is kind of doing that. And I'm sure there are many others but it's actually really nice, having not worked in corporate or in big organizations for some time, maybe not having that experience, but feeling like, the whole self has to go everywhere. You can't just leave a part. Dealing with, difficult situations, you can't just turn off those emotions and those feelings because, they may well resonate throughout part of the day. And just kind of having that understanding. And again, with the combination in a technology environment, normally, from my experience working in technology many years ago, there were no emotions. You just deal with the technology and to make it more human. And of course, we're the ones that make it work. So kind of can't leave that stuff out of it. It has to.
Well, yeah. And just to add to what you just said, that's where the value is. So our customers rely on us to help them build their intellectual property. So the enterprise SaaS or data analytics platforms that our clients use to connect to their customers, that's what we build. That's what GAP builds.
Yeah.
If you have a diverse team of people that have, bring their whole self and their independent thoughts and creativity and challenges that they face, if everybody can bring that, then the solution we're going to come up with is going to be so much stronger because you have all these different perspectives. I don't want any cookie cutter. That does not help, right? You want diversity of thought in as many ways as possible, plugging into that solution you're trying to build for the client.
And I think, again, it's fantastic to hear that. And I kind of feel like solutions and, things, whatever is being built for the client happens quicker in a way because it's the whole self. It's a complete piece rather than, the cookie cutter thing. The backwards and forwards conversations between yourselves and clients. Then there's subjectivity, there's conversations that kind of potentially extend the whole life of a project, but actually working almost intuitively on a one-to-one basis, whatever it happens to look like, gives equally, I know from my business, it gives fantastic results and in a much quicker time frame because all of that stuff outside,
right?
Because you're bringing your whole self. There is no stuff outside. It's all there. It's complete in that one space.
I think a simplistic kind of in my head is, just imagine we're all working on this giant jigsaw puzzle and, one of us could work on it. If I worked on it, it'd take about a year because I'm very slow at jigsaw puzzles because I'm like, not.
I can never find the corner pieces. That's the bit that takes me forever.
Right. Well, it's not only, so imagine now we have 4 people working on it and they're like, oh, I see the part you're working on over here. That really goes with my part over here. Let's put that in there. And 2 of the people have the pieces in their pocket. We didn't even know it. And they're like, oh, I have that piece. I'll put that in there. But the more people we have collaborating on that, the way faster that jigsaw puzzle is going to come together.
Absolutely. So going back to the beginning of your career and wanting to kind of progress and learn, and even in the first instance, feeling like you'd achieved and you had success, I'd love to hear a bit more about how that impacts you in your career now and your organization.
Yeah, it's an interesting question. I think if we all think about how we grow as people, right? You mentioned I've been doing this almost 4 decades. So early in my career and probably in everyone's career, our focus is really about learning and gathering tools and experiences. And to do that, other people invested in me, right? Teachers and mentors and coaches in business and just peers I watched and learned from. And so that's all about, hey, I'm really focused on kind of growing this. But as you progress through your skill, at least for me, my success is not now measured. I still want to learn every day, but I'm not measuring myself by what I'm learning. I'm measuring myself by the impact that I'm having on other people and how am I creating an environment for other people to learn and grow. I'm going to murder this quote, so Maya Angelou, please forgive me. But one of my favorite quotes, paraphrase from Maya Angelou, is your legacy is measured by the impact you have on others' lives. So I really view every single interaction as a chance to do something positive. And if I'm not careful, maybe it's not positive, which is also could be part of my legacy. So I'm very focused on, hey, we need to invest in people. And I now measure my success on, hey, if I look across the people that I interact with, have I done something to help them learn or help them grow or, get to the next level of their career? That's really now how I think about success.
That's a really giving consideration for success, that it's not a kind of necessarily a selfish thing. It's a giving, it's being useful, helpful, supporting others' success. And again, it's another topic, I really kind of deeply resonate with, whether it's my children's success, whether it's, individuals, it's how are they doing? How can I help them to be more successful? And it may not be a conscious thing in the first instance. Do you think that it's always been a conscious effort, or do you think there's some subconscious helping others to be successful, that it's an intuitive, something you've always done?
I think that I'm a natural caregiver, right? So if I look at my employees now, I have 650, and I feel responsible for their well-being and their family's well-being and, the next generation. So part of that comes from, in my family, caregiving was really modeled, that it was your job to take care of your elders, or if there was a sick family member. So that is very natural, right? That feels very comfortable for me. And I think that extends to my particular leadership style, which is I want to grow a bunch of leaders, and I want those leaders to go and invest in a bunch of people and help others. And then I will feel like, hey, this has been a great time if we can all do that.
Okay. So how do you then balance supporting others to become leaders and supporting yourself to make sure that you're sustained in that, in organizations and business?
I think for all leaders and entrepreneurs, there are times when that is very easy and there are times when it's not. And I think you need to develop your own set of kind of monitors and sensors, warning mechanisms to say, am I feeling really stressed or am I not? Because I can tell you, for me as a leader, I'm a very calm leader. I'm not highly emotional. So I try to stay off of the roller coaster that we all have to go through because business is good or business is bad, whatever.
Yeah.
I just try to stay here, which means I need additional kind of warning signals about myself on, I may not be acting stressed, but I'm really feeling stressed. So, am I sleeping, or am I following through with my exercise? Silly. Am I drinking enough water? All of the things that kind of make you a healthy person. Am I have quiet time? And I force into my daily regimen some number of those things to make sure that I am staying both physically, mentally, spiritually healthy, so that I can be the best at what I want to be the best at, which is taking care of all of these people.
That's fantastic.
How about you, Lou? Do you find a way?
Oh, well, I'm kind of going, I think there's some awareness, but I think there's some room to go with it, because often for me, it's about the perception that I'm kind of okay. So there's still for me that boundary or barrier that is, I'm absolutely fine, but not really taking a step back to go, am I really fine?
Right. I do have one of those, I have a wearable that, there's a million out there.
Oh, yes, I do as well. We're all into every piece of technology. And
it's interesting, where there was a period of time where I thought, I'm trying to bring my best self, but wow, I feel really tired, at certain points. And, I started doing a little more research. I'm like, I'm not sleeping well at all. Like, I thought I was sleeping well, but I'm not sleeping well. Make some adjustments.
Yes.
And it's like, okay, now I feel a lot better.
I do partake in a, if I get some spare time, a day here and there, I will have some time out and some rest, some sleep, and just to recuperate. But one to regulate. Anyway. You're listening to Tech Talks with Lou, and I'm Lou Temlett. And today I'm talking with Joyce Durst, CEO and founder of wearegap.com. In terms of the latest technology in your business, what steps are you taking to be kind of ahead of the game and progressive?
Well, it's such, it's an ever-moving target in technology. It's one of the things I love about technology, but it makes it, it's impossible to be up on everything. It's just, there's a new thing every day. As part of the company, we have a research technology group whose job it is to make learning new technologies fun for all of us, all the engineers and all the rest of us, even if we're not using them on projects. So, we have things like 3D printers, and we have things like Oculus headsets in the office so that people can explore the metaverse. And we do sessions on blockchain and all kinds of artificial intelligence. We've got a whole bunch of people using ChatGPT and DALL-E and a bunch of the competitors. And for many of those things, because we're in the general business of helping companies transform their environments through technology. That's what we help our customers do, is really focus on digital transformation. But for many of those things, they're still a ways off before there's really commercial production, applications that we're going to put. Like, I don't have any customers, not that I'm sure other people do. I don't have any customers saying, hey, I've got Oculus headsets on all of my employees and we're, just operating in the metaverse. I don't have any of that right now. But I do. There are really good applications for AI. So I kind of recommend for everyone that right now it's just about everybody learning. If we use ChatGPT as an example, and again, there's many platforms out there, sometimes it'll give you the right answer, sometimes it'll give you the wrong answer. So, now's the time to just experiment and play with it and ask it all the questions you can kind of think of, but recognize that if it's really a serious thing that you're going to use in business, you should validate that against some other sources and stuff. So, again, this is where we all get to be continual learners and
yes,
see what you can ask it to do.
Absolutely. I think that's the fun bit, and kind of noticing, and the fact that there's been so much fantastic marketing on ChatGPT. There are many technologies that go under the radar that aren't brought to the forefront. So I think in kind of making it more easy to understand for everyone, it's a massive step forwards in terms of marketing technology. And I'd love to see any other new technology being marketed and kind of made viral in such a way. Well, certainly make our jobs much easier.
Of another one, right? And if you look through history, almost all major technology trends take a big step forward and then a big step back and then some baby steps forward. And so that we're in that process. Crypto, same thing, right?
Yeah.
We saw explosion of crypto and then an implosion of crypto. And so it doesn't mean crypto's bad and, we won't ever have it. Absolutely. Crypto is also here to stay, but you got to improve and, understand where technology can be used for good and where it goes off the rails and build, a few barriers to keep us, safe as all these new things are being launched.
Absolutely. And I love the technology for good and kind of having that measure for, positive outcomes and, progress in life. I guess that kind of resonates with the choosing which plate is the most important to keep spinning in that moment. We don't all have the capacity to learn everything all of the time, but choose one thing and progress with that. And I think it resonates back. I remember talking with my son when he was about 3 or 4 and being a very, involved mother, wanting him to do this club, that activity, this activity. And he came back to me, the wise age of 3 or 4 and went, I just want to do one thing a day, Mum. Can you just, and I was like, I've always held, his words kind of in my heart and go, if you achieve one thing a day, that's fantastic.
Fantastic. Well, and the other thing on the learning thing, and we do this on my leadership team, we crowdsource this. So I don't need to read every single article. I'm going to pick a couple, but everyone else on my team is picking a couple, and we share on Slack as our communication people. They'll share a little summary. Hey, I read this article. If you want to read it, it takes 4 minutes, and here's the highlights, so that you can learn in this, short method. Yeah, with a bunch of people. So again, it doesn't have to be just on you. You just got to have a peer group that, you share the load there.
Yes, I love the collaborative nature and being able to learn collaboratively so that actually the load isn't on any one individual or yourself from that perspective. I want to kind of come on to the exceptional customer service. So I think for both of us, that's been a kind of desire to serve and deliver exceptional products and services for our customers. But I just want to revisit that and expand on it a little bit and how important it is for technology companies to have the customer at the forefront.
Yeah, and I think any technology company, especially we're a services company, if you're going to be successful, you have to start from a place of empathy. So, when we are working with VP of engineers that are trying to figure out what their digital transformation plan is and make sure they can deliver on their commitments they've just made to their board of directors, that they're going to have this that will really help their customers in the market by the end of the year. Like, we feel and internalize how important that is to that person, to that individual, and then to that company. Like, all of their business objectives center around this thing. And if you start there, then you really attack the project of, hey, there's no choice but to make sure this thing is great. Like this person's career and this company they are absolutely dependent on that. And we make sure that we really understand the why it's important to the individual and why it's important to the company before we kick off any project. And then we reiterate that over and over, week after week after week. Hey, in case we forgot, this isn't work. This is their company, right? This is his career. Let's make sure that it's magical and that we're bringing recommendation and innovation and ideas to the table every day, because we're on that team.
Yes. And, again, kind of coming back to the cookie cutter, if you're developing technology products, it's not just doing the same that you've always done for every client. It's about really nurturing that relationship and building something really successful that's kind of human-centered in that whole kind of delivery piece. And actually, from a timely perspective, it kind of keeps them happy. And I think that's the joy as well, that if you can see that someone you're, delivering products or services to has that joy rather than the frustration. Because I think maybe we've seen lots of customers or, heard friends that are customers of technology services in the past have frustration, go, why is this taking so long? What's happening here? And the lack of communication and the kind of disengaged.
Yeah, you have to be totally engaged and transparent, right? Software is hard to build sometimes. Yes. Right. This is not easy, right? There's a lot of technical challenges sometimes in that. But if you really partner with your customer and you're transparent all along the way on, hey, here's what we're seeing, here's what we're going to do, here's where we need some more input, then they totally get it. They're like, yep, I understand. That required more invention. That took a little longer. We'll save some more time over here. But you got to do that together. And as long as they know that you really care about whether or not this thing is successful. It's not, you're going to, pay us at the end. It's like, no, like you're totally invested in, like we can't sleep at night if this thing's not on track. Then they're like, we're carrying this load together.
So this is a technology podcast. We've been talking about tech the whole way through, but I'd love to be able to share, or for you to share, some top tips for entrepreneurs and business owners in technology, for them to be able to progress in the most successful way and doing what you do best.
Well, I can, speaking for myself in terms of what's worked for me, really making sure that you have a purpose and values-led company to where your customers are not cookie cutter and neither are your employees. So really recognizing what the strengths and excellence and talents are in every single individual and valuing that and figuring out how to really kind of advance and promote that will pay tremendous dividends. So focus on the employee and focus on the customer experience. The other thing that I would tell, and this is especially true of women entrepreneurs, but could be all entrepreneurs, but especially women, think bigger. I see way too many times women put together a really awesome business plan for, hey, I'm going to work really hard and I'm going to get this company to 5 million. And my immediate thing is just go ahead and talk about getting it to 50 million. Like whatever it is that you're thinking about, just go ahead and put another zero on it, because as you, as an entrepreneur, make a plan in your mind for, here's what it would take to build a company to 50 million or 100 million or whatever, you start to actually make that happen. You figure out what leaders you need, you figure out what services, what kind of ideal clients you need, and you go down that path. All companies would be in a much better place if they started to really care about people and then just think further down the road. The last thing that I'll say, just because we're in this really time of uncertainty around the globe right now. We've just finished, I don't know, a pandemic. We've got in the US, we've got banking uncertainty. We have inflation all around the world. We've got tech companies struggling. If you are an entrepreneur and you are not doing scenario planning, you are putting your business at risk. So it was easy a year ago to go, tech is going to be growing at, 40+% every single year. And the companies that will survive in a good way this uncertain economic times are those that have planned for both things to be really good and things to be really bad, and have a playbook that you go, okay, here's what we do. The market's going down. Here's what we do. So please make sure that you have multiple options kind of for whatever happens in the market.
I absolutely love that advice. I'm taking the advice of putting at least one extra zero on the end of projection. I'd never thought of that. That's it makes perfect sense. Why just 5 million? Why not 50 million? Right. And whilst that sounds ridiculous, it's not. It's just okay. I need to convince myself on that one.
Well, it makes you really start to think about it differently. Yeah. Like, oh, well, is there a franchise model? Are there partnerships? Are there geographic expansion? Like, there's all kinds of things. Yes. What might that look like? And you might not choose to do all of them or any of them, but doing that will make it'll make your $5 million plan way stronger.
Yes. I think it's about having that kind of expanded mindset, the kind of dreaming bigger than you're already dreaming right now. Mm-hmm. And I think that's one of the things you kind of go, okay, well, what's my lifestyle going to be like? How do I want to move forward? And kind of making a lifestyle business, but something that's fulfilling ourselves as human beings over and above the working just to earn money. Right. I think that's really kind of important as well, and obviously reflects the values-led organization. You're listening to Tech Talks with Lou, and I'm Lou Temlett. And today I'm talking with Joyce Durst, CEO and founder of wearegap.com. Joyce, I know you have a kind of heart filled with kind of people and value, and also your love for supporting community. Tell me more.
Yeah, Lou, this is my favorite topic, actually. So when I talked about the values of striving for greatness and being agile, investing in people, that doesn't just mean the people inside of our company. So we view our values as the work we do. We call ourselves Gapsters, with our Gapsters. The work we do with our customers, we want to make their lives better too. And the work we do in our communities. We believe it is our absolute responsibility to be doing all we can to lift up the communities where we live and work. And we do that through a whole bunch of initiatives. We have a big program called Gap Gives, and we let the employees really have a loud voice and a big vote in where charitable giving is done and what activities we're going to go do with our time and our money and our expertise. Right now, I'm very excited about in Colombia, we're doing right now, and that there's a small community, a whole community where no one in the community has access to the internet. So we're going in. We have great technologists, and we're over that entire community installing, Wi-Fi access points and repeaters so that for the first time, everyone that lives there will have access to the internet. And that can be a powerful game changer for kids learning and, parents kind of work and education and stuff. So that's great. But that's just one of many. We support charities to rescue pets. We support charities that are trying to lift children out of poverty or have children. Like there's a charity we're very fond of that builds prosthetics for children who have been victims of burns or cancer. So we want to support as many charities as our people have passion. And if their heart is there and they, really are moved and can tell that story about how we can help people, then we are all in. And I think for entrepreneurs, again, out there, if you want to connect with your people, you need to have a purpose that they can connect to. And for many, if you're, have young people that work in your company, they are very motivated to not only do work and do a great job in the office, but they want to give back. And whether that's with, helping climate change or addressing poverty or homelessness or whatever it is, they want to know where you are on helping them do things that are soul enriching, fulfilling for them. And it's easy for us to get behind that.
That sounds it is incredible. It doesn't just sound, I kind of feel the heartfelt kindness and, really community focus, kind of supporting a community with the internet. It's like I'm sure most of us can't even imagine what that's like to not have any connection. And we've kind of been blessed for so many years having this technology, but being able to support a community that doesn't have that, and that's massive. That's just massive in itself. Despite all of the other things, or in addition to the other things that you do.
So we can all, again, I think if all companies would just put a little focus on this, and we put a lot. We measure our giving goals at the same level as we measure our revenue and profit goals, and they have to be reported out every single week. So the company knows, hey, we're very serious, like this is an important thing for us. But I think if every companies would just get behind whatever, again, whatever touches you, whatever calls you, then we could make a really big impact in the world.
I can just imagine organizations almost spending, half of their time charity giving and half of their time working. And that's the kind of the mix of giving and receiving and kind of giving and receiving in kind of a complete way. And I guess it really does allow employees to bring their whole self, because it's their passion, it's their own purposes as well as the organization's purpose, that actually it feels a good creates good. And, it's kind of reiterative. It's, progressive in that sense as well. Tell me what's next for you.
Well, for me, I think in 2 areas, well, maybe 3 areas. I'm going to try and survive a half marathon here in 2 weeks that I'm probably not ready for. So hopefully we'll do that. But for the company, we doubled the size of the company in the last less than 3 years, and we want to do that again. So just as I recommend entrepreneurs, I challenge myself on, hey, here's my growth plan for the company. Let's think a little bigger. So we're going to try and double the size of the company again in the next 3 years. And then for me personally, my own personal legacy is really focused on how many leaders are we growing? How many dollars are we giving back in the communities? Those are the things where I can go have a real personal impact. How many entrepreneurs am I mentoring? How can I help a bunch of other people start to grow up, either their careers or their companies? And so that's my focus for the next few years as well.
Fantastic. And how can people get hold of you, Joyce?
I am very easy to get hold of. Joyce Durst that's my LinkedIn profile. WeAreGap.com is our website. Please come there. If you reach out to me on LinkedIn, I will do my very best to get back very quickly. So I've had the same LinkedIn for the last, couple decades for sure.
Fabulous. I feel amazingly inspired by having this conversation with you, knowing that there's kind of personal and community success in technology and working in this industry. It feels the right direction. And certainly I hope that listeners, you're feeling the same way, that this feels such a kind of heartfelt, progressive, inspirational conversation to go forward with. Joyce, thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate you. And I hope for our relationship and communication to continue.
Yes, me too, Lou. I was so looking forward to this. Again, I just love. So anytime you just want to call me, we'll just chat anytime.
Fantastic. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I hope you've enjoyed this episode as much as I have recording it. I look forward to have you listening in again for the next episode. And in the meantime, I'd love you to rate, review, and download this episode. Thanks again for listening.